Hello and welcome everyone to the Polity Primer series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pragya. In today's interesting episode of Polity Primer, we are going to discuss yet another important constitutional amendment. So we are discussing all of the important constitutional amendments one by one. So this amendment which we are going to discuss today is the most controversial one. The title of our today's discussion is the 38th Constitutional Amendment Act. We are going to study about in this discussion firstly about the 38th Constitutional Amendment. We are going to see what did it do and what changes it made in our Indian Constitution and why it is often shrouded with controversy. We are also going to examine its historical background. We are also going to see its key provisions, and lastly we are going to see some of the important questions from the perspective of your prelims examinations. So if I talk about the 38th Constitutional Amendment Act, we all know that national emergency was already going on from the years 1975 to the year 1977. Okay, so national emergency is mentioned in which article of our Indian Constitution? Article 352. And we also know that emergency is known as the darkest period of our Indian democracy. Darkest period or era of our Indian democracy. So let me explain to you the brief background which led to the enactment of this 30th Constitutional Amendment Act. As it has been said by Dr. Vikas Divikriti, and I quote him, that whenever the government is weak, the Supreme Court already becomes strong. And whenever the government is strong, the Supreme Court takes a very balanced view. So before this also there were various cases, various points of conflict between the Honorable Supreme Court of India and the then government of India. There was this bank nationalization case, there was this privy purses abolishment case, and there was this case of Keshwanand Bharti in which the Supreme Court already evolved the basic structure doctrine. So all of these judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court of India had a huge impact on the then government of India. Okay, and to undo the incorrects, and to make them correctively sound, legislatively sound, the then Parliament of India enacted the 30th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, so the 30th Constitutional Amendment Act happened in the year 1975. The national emergency was announced by the then Parliament of India. Okay, by passing the 30th Constitutional Amendment, imposition of emergency was made non-justiciable as it involved waste of public money as per the statement given by the Parliament of India. So basically, it snatched the power of the judicial review. From the courts of India, because there was already a controversy going on between the Honorable Supreme Court and the Parliament of India. The Supreme Court time and again upheld the constitutional laws, upheld the fundamental rights, and we have also seen this in the first amendment of the Indian Constitution. When IC Golaknath case came, we also saw this when we were discussing the evolution of the basic structure doctrine, that yes, though the Parliament has the power to amend the Constitution, you just cannot amend the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. Same was in the case of bank nationalization case. It was declared not to be correct. Okay. Then in the Privy Purses cases also, in the H.H. Maharaj Dhiraj Madhav Rao Scindia case, the Supreme Court said that no, the rulers are entitled to Privy Purses. How can you snatch their rights by providing a constitutional amendment? So this fear was already there when this 30th Constitutional Amendment Act was enacted, and that is why they made it non-justiciable in nature, so that they can completely exclude it from the purview of judicial scrutiny. Moving forward, let us discuss the historical background behind the enactment of the 30th Constitutional Amendment Act. So on June 25, 26, 1975 at midnight, the President of India signed a proclamation to declare that a severe emergency exists in which the security of India is threatened by internal disturbances on the suggestion of Srimati Indira Gandhi, who was the then Prime Minister of India, but without the agreement of her cabinet. So this was a blatant misuse of power, and the national emergency under Article 352 was declared by the President in the year 1975. Okay, and this was also a retaliation of the judgment of the Allahabad High Court on June 12, 1975, which found Mrs. Gandhi guilty of corrupt electoral practices and disqualified her from holding public office for 6 years. So, you might remember this famous case, State of UP versus Raj Naren. State of UP versus Raj Naren. So basically, this is the judgment in which Allahabad High Court said that you have practiced corrupt electoral practices and now you cannot contest the elections for 6 years. And she wanted, obviously our then Prime Minister wanted to save herself, wanted to become the PM, remain the PM of the Indian Dominion, and that is why she declared emergency. Okay, so this was an immediate trigger for declaring the national emergency in the year 1975. Although this judgment in the case of State of UP versus Raj Naren was stayed by a vacation bench of the Supreme Court. Stayed by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court granted her the conditional stay, but without the right to vote in Parliament. Without the right to vote in Parliament. So definitely she feared that she will be vetoed out of her power, because after the basic structure doctrine case, she was already being criticized, okay. And she feared that yes, she is going to lose her candidature of the Prime Minister of India, and that is why this emergency was declared. And this is a brief historical background of the 38th Constitutional Amendment Act. So what did we understand till now? That yes, there were turbulences that were going on between the Honorable Supreme Court of India and the Government of India, and this judgment definitely was a turning point, the judgment of Allahabad High Court, and the circumstances was such that she wanted to have more control over the central government, over the judiciary. So to fulfill all of these agendas, the constitutional amendments started coming one by one. Firstly 25th, 24th, 26th, and this 38th Constitutional Amendment Act. Moving forward, let us analyze the key provisions of the 38th Constitutional Amendment Act. So basically, it made the declaration of emergency by the President of India non-justiciable in nature, as we have discussed, that yes, it put an end to the judicial review power of the Honorable Supreme Court of India and the Honorable High Courts of India. So basically, it snatched the power of judicial review. It also made the promulgation of ordinances by the President of India, the governors and the administrators of union territories non-justiciable. So not only the emergency, declaration of emergency could be challenged in court. In fact, even the ordinances that were promulgated during that period could not be challenged in the court. Okay, and this was made by virtue of Article 12123, 213 and Article 239B. So all of these articles were changed. Okay, and it also empowered the President to declare different proclamations of national emergency on different grounds simultaneously. Kindly note this fact that yes, simultaneously, because when this emergency was declared, a national emergency was already in place on some different ground. So basically, it empowered the President that yes, you can declare national emergencies on different grounds simultaneously. And this was being done under Article 352, which talks about national emergency. Okay, moving forward. On June 27, 1975, a declaration was made under Article 359, Clause 1, whereby no person could move the courts for the enforcement of Article 14, 19 and 21. another huge step that was taken through this amendment, that yes, you cannot approach the courts via Article 14, 19 and 21, exercising their powers under Article 32 and 226. Article 32 and Article 226. And this was upheld by the Honorable Supreme Court of India in the case of ADM Jabalpur. ADM Jabalpur versus Shivakant Shukla. Shivakant Shukla. And case is also considered as a blot on the Supreme Court. Blot on the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court was continuously favoring the government of India, and at that point of time the basic structure doctrine had already come into place. The supersession of judges had already been taken place. So this judgment was given by 4:1 majority, and who gave the dissenting opinion? Justice H.R. Khanna. Justice H.R. Khanna. And he faced a similar fate, that yes, he was also superseded after giving his dissenting opinion in this case. So you see that the central government at that point of time was trying to take a complete control over the judiciary. Okay. And this was done, the non-enforcement of Article 14, 19 and 21 was done to utilize the power as and when required by the central government of India, because they had some agendas in mind, such as social reforms, such as other agendas such as the bank nationalization, abolition of privy purses, etc. These were already going on. And during this period, the media was also censored. There was a huge censorship on media. Censorship of the Indian media. Okay. So basically, that is why the government thought that, okay, now we'll not allow anyone to approach the courts under Article 32 and 226 of the Indian Constitution. And basically, it also wanted to have the same effect as Article 358 of our Indian Constitution. And what is Article 358 of the Indian Constitution? That means whenever there is a proclamation of emergency, Article 19 is often insignificant. It becomes inoperative in nature. You cannot go to the courts for enforcing your Article 19 during the proclamation of emergency. So this 359 clause 1, Article 359 clause 1 also wanted to have the same effect as Article 358, which stops the operation of Article 19 in the proclamation of emergency whenever there is a proclamation of emergency. So all of these changes was done for just one purpose, to save herself and to remain the Prime Minister of India. And that is why we say that no, these periods are not good for Indian democracy. They are known as the darkest era of the Indian democracy. All of these was changed when finally in 1977, our then Prime Minister lost the elections and Janata Party came into power. We will be discussing all of this in our subsequent discussions on important constitutional amendments. That what happened after 30th amendment, okay, because we have to discuss the 42nd constitutional amendment also. We have to discuss the 39th constitutional amendment also. So all of this I will be discussing in my further sessions. With this, we come to a conclusion of our today's discussion. We have seen what is the 30th Constitutional Amendment Act and why is it often shrouded in controversy. We have also seen the historical background behind it, and we have also tried to understand its key provisions and how it finally established a more authority of central government on not only the judiciary but also on the state governments. State governments, because the executive was empowered to make laws for the state governments as well. Okay. So basically, we are saying that yes, these kind of amendments strengthen the authority of central government over the power of amendment of our Indian Constitution. Okay, now let us see a previous practice question which I asked you, and as I said that I will be revealing the correct answer in my today's session. So the question was, the 26th Constitutional Amendment Act is related to number A, abolition of privy purses, Option B, bank nationalization. Option C, basic structure doctrine. And option D, none of the above. So your correct answer would have been A. Option A, abolition of privy purses. And if you don't know how, and if you want to know how, kindly watch the previous video. Now let us discuss some of the important practice questions for our today's session. So the question is, consider the following statements. Your statement number 1 is, 38th Constitutional Amendment Act prohibited the judicial review of the various proclamations of emergency made by the president or, for that matter, governor of the states. And then option 2 is, it was enacted during the period of emergency from 1975 to 1977. Which of these statements given above is our correct? Your options are, option A is 1 only, option B is 2 only, option C is both 1 and 2, and option D is none of the above. So, I am revealing the correct answer for you. Your correct answer will be option C. Both 1 and 2 statements are correct. Moving forward to the next question. The question is, the 38th Amendment Act of 1975 made the declaration of emergency by whom non-justiciable? Okay, so your options are, option A is president, option B is governor, option C is cabinet ministers, and option D is none of the above. So your correct answer is going to be option A, President of India. Now moving forward to the last question of our today's discussion. The question is, which of the following amendments made the satisfaction of the president in invoking Article 356 final and conclusive, which would not be challenged in any court on any ground? Your options are, option A is 36th Amendment Act, option B is 38th Amendment Act, option C is 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, and option D is 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. And this answer will be given by you to me in the comment section. I hope this session was insightful for you. If you liked today's discussion and found it to be helpful, kindly like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting updates. If you have any feedback regarding this session, you can drop it in the comment box below. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.